Hi again, OMG followers, likers, whether you're a Twitterer or a Facebooker. Good to see you again. Brian Dawson from the parish of Havelock North in the beautiful diocese of Waiapu. I've been thinking about forgiveness lately, and let me say quickly, the main reason I've been thinking about forgiveness lately is because I've been writing a sermon on the subject, not because I am struggling to forgive someone or something like that, although we all do that. And I've been thinking a lot about what Jesus had to say about forgiveness. When his disciples asked him to teach them to pray, Jesus taught them what we today call the Lord's Prayer. And we all know how it goes: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, etc., etc. And right in the middle of that prayer, at the very heart, if you like, of the Lord's Prayer, is that line that says, "Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us." Sometimes I think we need to pause at that line. In fact, sometimes I think we should pause after every line in the Lord's Prayer and spend a moment thinking about what we just said. But today, let's just think about that one line. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. What does it mean to be forgiven as we forgive? And note the order of that, by the way. The way the sentence is structured, the order of the actions is actually the opposite of the order of the statement, if you know what I mean. Forgive us as we forgive. Which comes first? And what do we mean by forgive us our sins? The Gospels use slightly different language for this. Matthew in particular is very clear when Matthew's Gospel says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. In Matthew, that's clearly financial language, by the way. It's clearly talking about financial debts. Forgive us what we owe you, just as we forgive that which people owe us. The Lord's Prayer isn't the only time that Jesus talks about forgiveness, and what comes through clearly in each case is that this is a two-way street and a very big deal. Forgiveness is about extravagance, and it's about preciousness. To forgive is to do something incredibly generous. In the parable of the unforgiving servant, the king forgives a debt of 10,000 talents. This was a huge, unthinkable amount of money. It was equivalent to around 150,000 years of wages for the average first century Palestinian worker. This was an unimaginable debt, and the king forgives it. And that is a huge deal. And so, of course, having been forgiven of such a huge deal, you start to encounter the preciousness of that act, the preciousness of that forgiveness. This is extravagance in the extreme. But while the Gospels show us that forgiveness is extravagant and precious, the Gospels also show us that forgiveness is reciprocal and reliant. Forgiveness must be paid forward, if you like, for it to be fully realised. Or in other words, if we fail to forgive as we are forgiven, we will never actually experience the full gift of that forgiveness for ourselves. Now, this might sound a bit like Christianity 101 to you, but it is hard stuff. Let's be honest about that. How do we forgive when someone owes us so much? How do we forgive when someone has hurt us so much? And do we always have to forgive? Psychologists would tell us that sometimes forgiveness isn't something we should do. Is that true? Comment. I'd like to hear from you.